You've been told to chase success all day long, but here's the quiet truth successful people won't argue about. Your fortune is decided before breakfast. Most folks wake up as if they were late to their own life, eyes on a glowing screen, heart racing, mind scattered, then wonder why the day keeps beating them. But the men and women who build real wealth treat the morning like sacred ground. They don't start by reacting, they start by directing. They choose thoughts before thoughts choose them. Priorities before problems pick them. Discipline before distractions drain them. If the first hour is chaos, the next 12 will echo it. If the first hour is order, the rest of the day marches. Today I'll hand you the quiet rituals that tilt the game in your favor one by one, step by step, starting where it matters most. Let me tell you something you might not want to hear. Wealth doesn't start with money, it starts with mornings. It begins with the way you greet the first hour after your eyes open. You can talk all day about opportunity, hard work, even talent, but if your mornings are sloppy, your life will reflect it. Most people drift into the day. They wake up late, rush into their clothes, pour a cup of coffee, and stumble out the door already behind. That isn't living, that's surviving. And survival never creates wealth. The wealthy understand this. They treat mornings as the foundation of the building called their life. No one lays bricks on mud and expects the structure to stand. You need solid ground. The morning is that solid ground. Here's the truth. The way you spend your first hour is the way you train your mind for the next 12. If you fill it with confusion, you'll carry confusion. If you fill it with clarity, you'll carry clarity. That's why wealthy men and women protect those early minutes as fiercely as a farmer protects his best soil. Think of it like planting. No farmer waits until noon when the sun is blazing hot and the soil is dry to scatter seeds. He wakes early, before the chaos of the day when the ground is fertile, and he plants carefully. Why? Because he knows the harvest depends on it. Your life works the same way. Every morning you're planting seeds, thoughts, attitudes, intentions that'll become your harvest tomorrow. If you plant disorder, don't expect order. If you plant gratitude, discipline, and focus, don't be surprised when the harvest is abundance. When I was young, I thought success happened in the spotlight moments, the big deals, the big stages, the big breaks. But I learned that success is hidden in the moments no one sees. It's in the quiet when you decide to discipline yourself instead of drifting. It's in the solitude of the early morning when you choose to prepare instead of procrastinate. That's where wealth is born. You see, discipline is not a punishment, it's a declaration. It's you telling yourself, I will not let chance run my day. I will run it. The wealthy know that luck comes and goes, but discipline compounds like interest. Every small act of discipline in the morning multiplies into results in the evening. And let me clear up a myth. It's not about waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning. Some people rise at 4 and waste 3 hours scrolling, worrying, or gossiping. That's not discipline. It's not the clock that matters. It's the content of your first hour. You could wake at 6 or 7. But if you own that first hour with clarity, gratitude, and direction, you're ahead of 90% of the world. The wealthy don't worship the hour. They worship the habit. Here's another painful truth. If you tell me you don't have 10 minutes in the morning for yourself, you're telling me you don't have a life. If you can't command a fraction of your own morning, what makes you think you'll command the opportunities of the day? Discipline is like a muscle. You train it in the small moments so that when life hands you bigger battles, you're strong enough to win. Now imagine this. You wake up tomorrow and instead of reaching for distractions, you reach for a pen. You write down 3 things you're grateful for and 3 goals you're committed to. That's not poetry. That's training your mind to see abundance and direction. Gratitude gives you peace. Goals give you purpose. Together they create momentum. And momentum, once started, is hard to stop. Most people will never do this. They'll say it's too simple, too small, too easy. But that's the trap. Success is not built on the dramatic. It's built on the consistent. Wealthy people do simple things consistently until the simple becomes powerful. They know that reading 10 pages every morning won't change a life overnight, but it will change a mind over time. They know that writing down goals daily won't make you rich tomorrow, but it will keep your direction sharp, which eventually leads to riches. So, let me ask you, how do you start your mornings? Are you rolling into the day reactive, or are you stepping into it deliberate? Because here's the dividing line. Ordinary people let the morning happen to them. Extraordinary people design it. And when you design your morning, you begin to design your future. Wealth isn't a surprise visit. It's an appointment you keep with discipline every day. And that appointment begins the moment you wake up. Most people live their mornings on accident. They wake up and let the alarm dictate their mood, let the phone dictate their focus, and let circumstances dictate their attitude. By the time they've brushed their teeth, they've already lost the day. But the wealthy, the builders of legacies, understand a truth that sounds simple yet is rarely practiced. Mornings are not for reaction, mornings are for creation. The first hour is the canvas on which you paint the tone of your day. If you hand that brush to social media, to the news, or to your own worries, don't be surprised if the picture looks chaotic. But if you pick up the brush yourself, with gratitude, reflection, and intention, you'll craft a masterpiece one morning at a time. Let me give you an example. When I was younger, my mornings looked like a fire drill. I rolled out of bed already behind, wolfed down breakfast, and rushed into the day with no plan. I thought productivity meant diving straight into work. But I was wrong. I was running fast, but I was running in circles. Then a mentor asked me a question that struck deep. Jim, how do you begin your mornings? I gave him the honest answer. I wake up late, I rush, and I hope I can catch up. He shook his head and said, that is why you're always behind. You're letting your mornings dictate your life instead of you dictating them. That one conversation changed me. The wealthy understand this principle intuitively. They may not always call it philosophy, but they live it. They wake up and before the noise of the world creeps in, they write their goals, they move their body, they read something nourishing. These are not rituals of superstition, they are rituals of clarity. A morning spent on growth becomes a day spent on purpose. And a string of such days becomes a life of discipline and wealth. Now here's the secret most never catch. Wealth isn't built in giant leaps, it's built in daily deposits. Just as you invest a few dollars each day and watch them compound, you invest a few disciplines each morning and watch your character, your energy, your focus compound. Small disciplines turn into big results because discipline compounds faster than money ever will. So let's talk about what those disciplines look like. The first is gratitude. A wealthy life doesn't grow from soil of complaint. If you start your morning thinking about what's missing, you'll spend the day in lack. But if you take even 5 minutes to list what you're thankful for, the roof above you, the health you carry, the opportunities still ahead, you step into a mindset of abundance. And abundance attracts more abundance. Gratitude isn't a cliche, it's mental wealth management. Next is learning. The wealthy are students long after school ends. They know that if they stop growing, their wealth will stop too. So they feed their minds every morning 30 minutes of reading, listening, studying, not gossip, not distractions, but material that sharpens their thinking. Imagine the difference between a person who scrolls headlines for 30 minutes and a person who reads a classic on leadership or finance. One fills their head with noise, the other fills their head with wisdom. Multiply that difference by a year, by 10 years, and you'll see why some live in confusion while others live in clarity. The third is movement. The body and the mind are partners, not strangers. When you move your body, whether through stretching, walking, or a quick workout, you wake up your energy, and energy is the engine that drives achievement. I used to think I could work harder by skipping exercise, but all I did was run myself down. Then I learned that even 20 minutes of morning movement doubled my productivity. Wealth demands stamina, and stamina is built through energy, not exhaustion. And then there is planning. My mentor told me something I never forgot. Never start your day until it is finished on paper. That means before you step into the chaos, you sit down and write the 3 to 5 things that matter most. Not 50 things, just the few that will move you closer to your goals. Without that, the world will hand you an endless list of activities. An activity without achievement is the fastest road to frustration. Planning gives you focus, and focus multiplies results. Now you might say, Jim, I don't have time. But let's be honest, if you don't have 10 minutes, you don't have a life. And if you can't discipline yourself to invest a fraction of your morning, what makes you think you'll handle the weight of wealth? These rituals don't take hours. Gratitude, learning, movement, and planning can be done in under an hour. And yet that 1 hour has the power to change the other 23. You see, discipline is not about rigidity, it's about freedom. The purpose of morning discipline is not to box you in, but to free you from drifting. A man or woman who owns their morning walks into the day with confidence, clarity, and calm. While the world is overwhelmed, they are anchored. While others are pulled in every direction, they are focused. And that difference, the difference between drifting and directing, is the gap between poverty and prosperity. So let me challenge you. Stop thinking of mornings as a chore. Stop treating them as something to get through. Treat them as sacred. as the birthplace of your destiny, because that's what they are. The way you begin the day is the way you begin your future, and if you want a wealthy future, you must start by building wealthy mornings. Let me give you the raw truth. Wealth is not built in boardrooms, it is built in bedrooms specifically. The moment you rise from bed. Too many people wait for a big break, for some miraculous opportunity, while their mornings quietly betray them. They're planting weeds and expecting roses. They wake up scattered, consume junk for the mind, rush without purpose, and then wonder why life keeps handing them chaos. But the extraordinary, the ones who live with freedom, peace, and abundance know better. They understand that what you repeat in private is what shows in public. Mornings are not the warm-up. They are the main event. Now let's talk about something most people never grasp. Wealth does not belong to the early riser just because he's early. It belongs to the intentional riser. I've seen men who are awake at 4 in the morning but lose the battle by 7 because they fill those precious hours with noise. On the other hand, I've seen people wake at 7 and still win the day because they filled the first 60 minutes with gratitude, growth, and direction. The clock does not make you rich. The content of your hours does. Think about it this way. If you were given $1,000 and told you could either waste it on trinkets or invest it for growth, the choice would reveal who you are becoming. The morning is the same. You're given a gift of time, a pocket of freedom before the demands of the world arrive. If you squander it on distractions, you're telling life you're not serious. If you invest it in discipline, you're telling life you're ready. And life has a way of responding to readiness. Discipline in the morning is not about making you rigid. It's about aligning you with the life you say you want. When you write down your goals each morning, you're reminding yourself of direction. When you read a few pages of wisdom, you're sharpening your thinking. When you move your body, you're fueling your energy. When you plan your top priorities, you're creating clarity. These are not habits, they are declarations. They say to the world, I will not drift, I will decide. And that decision is wealth in seed form. I remember my mentor saying, Jim, never start your day until you finish it on paper. At first, I didn't understand. But then I realized he was teaching me that life without design defaults to chaos. By planning in the morning, I wasn't controlling the entire day. I was controlling my response to it. Challenges still came, interruptions still happened, but I carried a map. And when you have a map, storms don't make you lost. They just test your navigation. Here's another principle the wealthy live by. Gratitude is not optional. It is the soil of abundance. Every morning, take 5 minutes to acknowledge what you already have. Write it down, speak it aloud, feel it. A man who begins his day with complaint is already poor, no matter what's in his bank account. But a man who begins with gratitude is already rich, even if money hasn't caught up yet. Gratitude doesn't just change your feelings, it changes your posture, your decisions, your relationships. And wealth is built through those things. Let's not forget movement. Energy is the great multiplier. I used to think I could outwork my tired body with sheer willpower. I was wrong. A sluggish body creates a sluggish mind, and a sluggish mind misses opportunities. But the moment I made movement part of my mornings, even just a brisk walk or stretching, I noticed the difference. Energy spilled into my work, my conversations, my discipline. Wealth isn't just mental, it's physical. Without energy, even great ideas stay stuck. And learning, don't miss this. Reading 10 pages each morning may not feel like much, but imagine this. 10 pages a day is 300 pages a month, nearly 4,000 pages a year. That's a dozen solid books shaping your thinking, giving you tools, expanding your vision. Compare that to the person who scrolls gossip for the same 10 minutes. A year later, one has wisdom, the other has noise. Tell me which one attracts opportunity. Wealthy people are readers because ideas are the currency of progress. So let's tie it all together. Gratitude centers your heart. Goals direct your mind. Movement energizes your body. Learning expands your vision. Planning clarifies your path. That is the architecture of a wealthy morning. Not complicated, not mystical, but powerful because of consistency. Remember, it's not the size of the habit that counts. It's the repetition. Ordinary actions done daily become extraordinary results. Here's what most never do. Test it. I challenge you 7 days. For 7 mornings, practice gratitude, write your goals, read or listen for 30 minutes, move your body, plan your day. Do it before the world has a chance to interfere. By the end of the week, you won't need me to convince you, you'll feel it. You'll see the order replacing the chaos, the clarity replacing the fog, the energy replacing the fatigue, and you'll realize that wealth isn't far off in the distance. It's being built right now in the small, quiet disciplines of your morning. Wealth doesn't sneak up on you. It doesn't arrive wrapped in luck or handed down by chance. Wealth is designed, and the blueprint is written in the disciplines you practice when no one is watching, especially in the morning. You can talk about ambition all you want, but the world doesn't reward wishes. It rewards structure. And your morning routine is the structure that determines whether your days scatter or align. I want you to picture two people. One rolls out of bed late, scrolls through endless feeds, rushes into the day already distracted, and spends the rest of the day chasing fires. The other wakes with intention, spends 10 minutes in gratitude, writes their goals, fuels their body, sharpens their mind, and clarifies their priorities. By noon, the difference between those two lives is obvious. By the end of a year, it's staggering. By the end of a decade, it's the difference between regret and freedom. The wealthy protect their mornings because they understand momentum. Life is like a river. It flows in the direction you push it early. If you begin with order, discipline, and clarity, the river carries you forward with less resistance. But if you begin with confusion, worry, and distraction, you fight against the current all day long. Why spend 12 hours repairing the damage of a sloppy morning when you could spend 12 hours building on the foundation of a strong one? Now let's talk about consistency. Everyone can practice discipline once in a while. Anyone can wake up early once, write their goals once, or move their body once. But wealth doesn't come from what you do once. It comes from what you do daily, especially when it's inconvenient. Discipline is forged in repetition. In the mornings, you don't feel like practicing it. That's when the habit digs deep roots. And those roots hold firm when storms come. There's a dangerous myth I need to tear down, that discipline makes life rigid, that it boxes you in. Nothing could be further from the truth. Discipline creates freedom. The man who disciplines his morning gains freedom in his afternoon. The woman who disciplines her thoughts gains freedom in her finances. Freedom is never the product of neglect. It is always the reward of structure. You don't drift into liberty, you build it. So I'm asking you, what's one habit you're willing to commit to this week? Just one. Maybe it's gratitude, writing down 3 things before you touch your phone. Maybe it's movement, 10 minutes of stretching or a brisk walk. Maybe it's learning, reading a few pages of something valuable instead of scrolling noise. Or maybe it's planning, listing 3 tasks that matter most before the day begins. The habit itself matters less than the commitment. Because once you prove to yourself that you can own one piece of the morning, you'll begin to own the whole. And here's the promise. The day you take charge of your morning is the day you begin to take charge of your future. The wealthy know this. They don't gamble their mornings away. They design them, guard them, and repeat them until those mornings compound into years of prosperity. And if you think you're too busy, too tired, or too overwhelmed to own your mornings, I'll tell you this, you can't afford not to. Because without discipline in the morning, you'll pay for it all day long. So let this be your turning point. Don't wait for next month. Don't wait for the perfect schedule. Tomorrow morning, practice one discipline, write one goal, read one page, walk one block, plan one task. Do it deliberately. Because the power isn't in the size of the act, it's in the decision. That decision is proof to yourself that you're serious, that you're not drifting anymore, that you're stepping into ownership of your life. Remember this truth as you rise tomorrow. The way you start your morning is the way you build your life. Wealth doesn't come to those who hope, it comes to those who prepare. And preparation begins at dawn, in the quiet disciplines that seem small but shape everything. If you own the morning, you own the day. And if you own the day, you begin to own the future. That is where wealth begins. Not in the bank account, but in the choice you make when the alarm rings.